Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, back with another video on the Xterra, and this time I want to talk about that oil gauge. I've read so much about this online and I wanted to address it in one nice tidy video for you guys. The best way to do this is to just demonstrate it, so let's get on the road and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now the big concern is the fluctuation of the pressure on the gauge. Now when you accelerate, the pressure goes up. When the car is at idle, the pressure goes down. A lot of people are thinking that this has to do with an actual loss of pressure, meaning a leak somewhere. They think that the oil gauge should be in the middle at all times. That's because a lot of cars are designed that way. The oil gauge, even at idle, will just sit in the dead center. That's because it's a dummy gauge. It's designed to only tell you when something is wrong. The gauge in this particular car is actually telling you the pressure of the oil at all times. So, while you're driving and you hit the accelerator, the RPMs go up, the oil pump is being driven faster, creating more pressure. It's as easy as that. And then people will be concerned because they'll say, when I first start my car, the oil pressure will stay in the middle, but then only once it warms up will it drop. So they think they have the wrong viscosity oil in, or there's some issue with the pump again. However, these engines are designed to drive and ride and idle at a higher RPM until they warm up to operating temperature. So, because those RPMs are raised, your pumps, it's running faster. So, your pressure is going to be up. Let's demonstrate. So I'm going to start the car. This is a cold start. Now you'll see the oil gauge goes up and it sits in the center. Well, we're also idling at what? Just over 1,000 RPMs. That is not where the vehicle should be idling once it's warm. Once it's warm, it idles around 625 to 650. So let's go warm it up, and you'll see once we start idling that this pressure will drop. All right, as you can see, we've driven it, we've warmed it up, and now take a look at our pressure. It looks really low, right? This is actually a perfectly fine reading. If it's within those 2 bars, that means it's okay. If it were too low, you would get that oil pressure warning light. If we hit the gas and increase the RPMs, your pressure will go up, and then it goes back down to idle, and of course the pressure drops. That's because this is a mechanical oil pump. It's driven directly off the motor. It is not electric, so any fluctuations in the RPM will affect the pressure of the pump. If you do other things that affect the RPM, for instance, if you turn the wheel, you'll see that there's a max out, and you'll see the pin move a little bit. So when you max it out, it knows that it needs to compensate for that strain. Same for the air conditioning. So if we turn on the air conditioning, notice the pin moves up a little bit. That's because, again, the engine's compensating for that additional strain of the AC compressor. The model years that you're going to find this on are all of the 05s and the first half of the 06 model year. As the story goes, Nissan was getting contacted so much about this and had so many issues with it that they just switched over to what they call dummy gauges, where it's always going to show fine unless there's a problem. So if you do have a 2005 or an early 2006 and you're having this happen, don't worry about it. It is not a major oil pump issue. It is just the way it's designed. Now, if you've determined that your truck is like mine and that it isn't really a problem, that's great. However, if you're experiencing other symptoms, you may want to be concerned. Now, your biggest indicator is going to be that oil light. So if you go up to a stop sign or a stoplight, your engine starts to idle, and that pin drops so low that your engine oil light comes on. This is when the motor knows that there's not enough pressure being generated by the pump to get oil to where it needs to be. If that's the case, you could have issues with some internal gaskets in the motor or the pump itself. You should also be concerned if you're seeing blue smoke out your tailpipe. This means you're burning oil, so somehow the oil is getting into the combustion chamber, which is mostly going to be blow by through your piston rings. Lastly, if you're not burning oil, but you're checking your oil periodically and you're seeing that it's dramatically getting lower, then you definitely have a problem. You should definitely look into it. That could be anything from mixing with a broken seal between the coolant and the oil. That could be a PCV issue, or burning it and you're just not noticing the smoke. That's it for this video. I hope that if you were having these symptoms that this video puts your minds at ease. And if you do have one of those other symptoms that you should be worried about, definitely get it looked into. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more awesome videos like this, be sure to hit subscribe below, comment with any questions or suggestions, and I'll see you in the next one.